Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. So nice to see your beautiful smiling face.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I am among the living, and can you believe it's already February 16th? Wild.
I know. Time is like, it's like you blink and it's like, boom, another month goes by.
And it's good to see you too. You are in the middle of house projects. You just built an outdoor shower, didn't you?
I sure did. And it's absolutely lovely. It's like a little oasis.
Nice.
So, yeah, Rowan and I have this beautiful backyard. And so we're slowly, it takes so long to visualize what you want. So yeah, dreams are coming true. So the outdoor shower, it's like all bamboo. It's really nice.
Good for you guys.
So, and it's also a good prepping tool because if we lose water, it's really easy to hook up like a quick solar kind of situation for a shower.
Yeah, yeah. So if you lose your electrical grid for any reason, you can still have a warm bath.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would love to get like one of those like Japanese tubs.
Oh, a soaking tub?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, either that or you could go with the cold bath. Those cold,
Not a cold plunger.
not a cold
Okay.
sponge.
Not doing it. People always talk to me about it. I got a hot tub and I got a hot shower.
There you go. Then you're set.
Hot to hot.
All set.
Anyway, woo. All right. So let's talk about the crypto crackdown.
Goodness, isn't it ever? It's getting bigger and bigger every day. So what did you find out this week?
Well, I took some time. I listened to the Senate hearing committee and, it was really focused on like the crypto crash, right? Because we had FTX, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, Terra Luna, they all fell. And it's really interesting, like watching certain senators speak because it's very obvious who's aligned with who, and even they're interviewing like three professors from, Duke University, Georgetown, just prominent universities in the United States. And it's very easy to see, like I said, like, okay, so this guy, Lee Reiners, he's a professor at Duke. He teaches crypto, and he's 100% for the SEC because the SEC is the only agency that's doing something. And he's talking about litigating through enforcement, and we should give the SEC more power,
Wow.
right? And I know that Senator Warren is working on like a doozy of a bill, right? Because when all of these centralized systems collapse, centralized systems, right? That's why decentralized finance is so important. But when these centralized systems collapse, we have that narrative of you got to get your digital ID. We need to know who you are, where you're going, how you're spending. I mean, you can just see the narrative getting pushed into this direction. Um, but I put together like a little clip yesterday, and I know you've been super busy. I'm not sure if you had a chance.
Haven't seen it.
So I put together, it's like just over 5 minutes, and I want everybody just take 5 minutes and watch this video because Senator Scott, who represents South Carolina, and another professor, her name was Linda, Linda Jeng, Jeng, and she's like a chief counsel for blockchain. She's also like a scholar at the International School of Economics for Georgetown University. She also visits Duke University, and she was so right on. Like her and Senator Scott had like this awesome interaction. So I made a little clip just as a highlight because, it's so easy to just like keep exposing people like Lee Reiners and some of these other senators that are just like, want to like basically like, we can't decide anything for ourselves anymore as humans. And they don't call us humans, they call us consumers.
Right. Yeah.
You notice that? It's
Yeah.
that dehumanization, you know, and I'm like, we're citizens, we're humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put that link below in the notes. And if the internet has been a little bit unstable for us, and just real quick, the people may have noticed that on the last audio. Well, I don't know why it processed that way, but I would play that video here if the internet was a little bit more stable and share my screen, but it's not. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. But you're right, they do kind of dumb us down, if you will. And they're trying.
Yeah, and I just like, you know, and I think about things too, because if we're constantly going to the government to give us solutions for our lives, you know, like at what point do we realize that the government is not coming to save us?
Right.
Like, you know, like my family, I have cousins that live on the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. So they live less than an hour away from East Palestine.
Right. Yeah.
And the way they handle the situation is pretty typical. We've had so many different chemical explosions all of the time in the United States. You see, like they originally do like a media blackout, they don't show anything. And then the corporations come in and say, it's okay, everybody go back home, no big deal. While 1 million pounds of vinyl chloride got released into the sky and into the groundwater and into the Ohio River. But, you know, again, the government is not coming to save you. So, like, as individuals, as like your small community, wherever you live, what would you do in case of an emergency? How can you support each other? You know, I remember probably like 10 years ago, I read an article about a snowstorm. I think it was either in North or South Dakota. I can't remember which one, but they got 25 feet of snow. They didn't call anyone. They took care of it themselves. And that's the solution to our problem. And if we don't rise at some point, like I see, you know, talk about a climate emergency, right? Like what happened in Ohio, now we have a climate disaster. We have an environmental disaster. And what if the people can't live there? And we've read the documents with the World Economic Forum of involuntary migration. So where would they put people with the involuntary migration? Into smart cities? And again, I'm speculating, but if this happens on a much larger scale, like it's just stuff to question and think about. We cannot lose our critical thinking.
Right. And well, I think, and just as a very broad stroke of the brush, right, that in and of itself, that statement is critical. I mean, yes, it's a very serious event that has taken place. I mean, I can't even begin to fathom the ramifications, and I don't think we know what the ramifications of that ultimately will be. It'll be years before we really understand. But to always wear that critical thinking hat as things continue to get revealed or rolled out. Stand in line here. Let's consider what it is all about.
Right, because it's just like if it's up to Senator Warren and Gary Gensler at the SEC, who wasn't at the hearing, by the way, you know, it's kind of like they really want to take control, wrap their arms around cryptocurrency and centralize it, knowing that cryptocurrency can be used in a decentralized manner, peer to peer, cutting out all the middlemen, actually having the ability to transform the government as we know it. If we put the government on the blockchain and everybody gets to vote, right, with DAOs, decentralized autonomous organisms, right? So here we have like an opportunity, but it's going to take some time. But I mean, I feel really hopeful, but at the same time, it's like I could see that control coming in because, like, you know, I hopped on the DMV website here in Florida and they're piloting a digital ID for a driver's license and having conversations with people and really just sitting with like, what would the ramifications be if something happens? I need to download the Fed app, right? So here I'm having the CBDC. I don't want to do it, so I don't do it. I didn't feel comfortable getting an experimental shot. I didn't do it. Now there's CPT codes, which I've talked about. And now it's like, okay, so now I'm not allowed to use the hospital or any medical services because I didn't want to get this experimental shot. And you see how quickly we could be locked out of the system and
Well,
how
isn't it Brazil that is mandating that you have to have the shot to participate in any type of support within their country?
oh, I
Anyway.
didn't see that. I don't follow too much of it, but you know, I bring it up and Kelly and I talk about other things because it's all connected.
Absolutely.
Like it's, you know, it's all connected. So, and if we want to opt out of the system, it's more than a mindset. We need an actionable plan of how we would live outside the system. You know, because when I'm listening to the senators and I'm listening to, you know, that professor, Linda Yang, I mean, it's just, she's so articulate and so smart. And she said, we are at a pivotal moment in history. The decisions that today's policymakers make in regards of the digital economy is going to affect generations to come. And if we go the route of China, she said all of this. And if we, you know, we look at China and we see what China did, China wants to control their people even more. It, you know, and like she didn't say this, but it's like, is it America's intention to shift our society to be more like China? And then it's like, no, Andrew, that's insane, right? But when we let a spy balloon fly over all these states, all these different states in the United States before we shot it down.
Well, I mean, and that's a whole nother conversation too. I guess it's all part of the same thing, but the reality is, in my opinion, and I know a lot about I know a little about a lot of things, and I'm not a master of any of them, is that I think it's all such a flippant distraction to whatever else is really happening, to have all those things happen at one time. I mean, okay, maybe not, whatever it is, but what's really going on behind the scenes? That's where my question is like, spy balloon or not, spaceship or not, whatever it is. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but to me, it's more like, are we giving our power away? Is the United States handing over their power to China? Because I don't think 50 years ago we ever would have let anything of China fly over any United States. And that, like, I don't, you know, everything else aside, why did we let that go from Alaska into like all these different states, all the way over to North Carolina before we shot it down? It doesn't, these things just don't make sense to me.
Well, and I don't think it's the first one. That's my point, is I just don't, I think it's just convenient, whatever it is in this moment, whatever. And that, you know, there are many things that we can just look at and scratch our chin about and wonder and question and put on the critical thinking hat.
Right, exactly. Because we do not want to create America to be like China. I mean, we just don't want this to happen. So I do think at some point we're going to have to rise, especially like the more I listen to like our leaders, it is very concerning. And the other thing too, though, that's like so funny is like after listening, especially like Senator Scott's like, it's really important for Gary Gensler to be here. He's not even scheduled to go back to a congressional hearing until September because of FTX. So they're keeping him, they're putting like a buffer between, Sam Bankman-Fried and Gary Gensler from the SEC, because they've met 5 times,
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that Senator Scott said. He's like, Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, they were the darling of cryptocurrency. They were putting and working together with regulators to do like regulatory framework for the United States of America. And yet he was using customers' money to buy homes in the Bahamas. Yeah. And Senator Scott called it out. He called out the misappropriation of funds. Like it was, and twice he brought up Gary Gensler not being there. So very, very good. Senator Scott from South Carolina has my vote.
Right there. Yep.
So yeah, super interesting. And I just don't think that the SEC is stopping. Did you see, I know we're going to post the article below, but so now the SEC is investigating Paxos.
I read something briefly about it. So yeah, Paxos is part of BUSD, part of the Binance.
Yep. Yep. So they're saying that BUSD is a security and Paxos is selling an unregistered security. They have 30 days to say why the SEC shouldn't sue them. So it's hard to wrap my head around when regulation is coming because we need it. We have to stop the SEC from, they're crushing innovation in America. So, no one's going to want to do business if they have to deal with the SEC. They've been cryptocurrency companies have been asking for years and years and years and years, give us the rules of the road, so we can follow the rules of the road. And again, there's plenty of rules of the road that's already in place that other companies have to do. And companies like Ripple do it. But I always remember David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, he called it. He said, I guarantee it. We've been meeting with the SEC once a month for all of these years, and then they're going to drop a lawsuit on us. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and so for those that aren't aware, BUSD is part of the Binance ecosystem. So, I mean, this will be an important, whatever this is for them to go through. It's ridiculous.
Right. So I think we can either see like rushed regulation because just the lawsuits are getting like out of control. We need cryptocurrency clarity, right? And hopefully that Ripple lawsuit is going to give us way more clarity and hopefully good clarity with the judge. Okay, because everything looks really good for Ripple. Because I think going through this lawsuit and litigation really exposes the corruption and deception of Gary Gensler and the SEC. I mean, Brad Garlinghouse even said it was shameful. Like the SEC is going to be shamed when this information comes out, and they still haven't released the Hinman emails because they can't. Because it probably says XRP is a virtual currency or something.
Obviously something in there that they don't want to release.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, we got to grab our popcorn because it is the middle of February and this lawsuit is not going to last forever. And, I look at cryptocurrency and some of the litigations and some of the, just overall like negative information that we're receiving. We're in the fight phase and then we're going to win. But it's like they're trying to be like, cryptocurrency is a scam. Cryptocurrency, like this guy, Lee Reiners from the Senate meeting, he was just like, there is no value to Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. And then the next person speaks, decentralized finance has grown 900% since 2021. I mean, it's just, they say all, it's like, okay, you're a liar and we're in crypto. So we know that DeFi has grown 900% and it's just going to keep on growing.
Such a comedic. It's
yeah.
just.
Yeah, it really is. And then it's funny too, because like I know I've been sharing with you like all the different adoption with like huge companies, right? So we had Siemens.
Mhm.
Um, they issued a $60 million digital tokenized bond on the Polygon blockchain. Okay, everything is licensed and legal through German law. It's all done. Done.
Yeah,
If
that's
Yeah, it's a lot, you know, and that's just one. And I suggest everybody go check out Siemens website because they're in the process of creating an empathic like um robot, like a GPT,
yeah,
but like with empathy.
really. Is that going to be the dancing robots and the dancing dogs? Are they? That's all part of Boston Dynamics, I think.
The one I sent you yesterday. I sent Kelly this great video of like it was what like 3 or 4 different robots and they were all kind of dancing together.
It's some pretty good moves down. I was like, oh, not too bad for a
I know
company.
he was even going like
Yeah, and the dogs were doing ballerina tiptoeing. Anyway, it's just wild, 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 wild.
wild. But you know, I wanted to bring that up because so we have like Siemens and then we have Charles Schwab. So Charles Schwab, all of their clients have access to exchange traded funds, which gives them exposure to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think one of the biggest ones was Blackrock. And I actually took notes. So they're doing an integration of real world assets. So we're going to start seeing this more and more probably in the news. They'll say they're RWA, real world assets. And they're doing this on the Ethereum blockchain. And this month, like I think last week, they launched a tokenized version of a BlackRock ETF that includes 500 large American companies. That includes Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet. The token is called BCS as in Sam, P as in Peter, X. And again, it runs on Ethereum. They're tokenizing an ETF on the Ethereum blockchain of 500 large United States companies. Okay, so, you know, when I hear the news and I listen to the senators and they're all screaming about how crypto has no use case, I see things happening.
Right.
And Kelly and I come every week and report to you.
None of this is financial advice, but that's fascinating. So has it been launched yet? And is it
Yes.
it's BCS? Bob
So it's
Charles.
Bob, Charlie, Sam, Peter, Xerox.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay. We know JP Morgan went live with decentralized finance with Aave and Polygon. Okay. So that was like the first DeFi trade that JP Morgan did. And that was a while ago. And then Fidelity Digital Assets has been in crypto since 2014. So they're like one of the leaders, you know what I mean? And we hear the government, oh my God, you can't put anybody's pension money into like Bitcoin ETFs. No, this is too risky. It's too dangerous. But at the same time, they're all doing it, you know, for probably institutional investors, leaving the average person out, and they'll let us out. You know, they'll let us like have the crumbs, right? The masses, you know, because no one's really paying attention,
The 1%
right?
is participating, right.
You know, and I think we talked about this last week too, because you know, they all told us to buy crypto last year at the Super Bowl when it was at its all-time high. This year, nothing.
Silence, like complete silence.
Yep.
It's
Don't pick up Bitcoin at 24,000, you know.
no, it's like, and people are like, okay, well then, in my community, if I bring up cryptocurrency, they think I'm an absolute nut for even considering and looking at it.
People have no idea. So everybody know, big shout out to Patty. You know, Patty's like a big part of like Two Women in Crypto. So Patty went to go do her taxes, and she's talking to her accountant, and she said, listen, I'm really concerned about my retirement. I'm worried about the central bank digital currency. Her accountant didn't know what it was.
Wow.
So this is where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why like every week Kelly and I show up, and please like share these videos, tell people it's time to do some research, because once things become law, it's really hard to overturn them. And will the United States, will the citizens of the United States rise if poop hits the fan? Are we going to be like strong Nigerians and rise? I don't know, you know, because we've had the world reserve currency and our lives are so easy, you know.
Well, I think unfortunately, I'm not gonna, it's just a matter of those that will be willing to step out of line. You know, we use that comment quite a bit. Excuse me. If it makes their life really difficult, which it would, to step out of it, a majority of the people will just do what they're being told.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Who knows? We have hope.
We have hope.
We're in the flow of it, whatever this is. Yep.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, Kelly and I are not going to live in the metaverse.
Not this go round, not the next either. Thank you very much.
I know. But it is interesting to see like the predictive programming, right? So like watching the Super Bowl ads, and it's all like about electric cars. They did mention the metaverse. And again, it's like if you look at companies who are doing business or getting set up to do business in the metaverse, it's all major corporations, right? Nike, Starbucks, Walmart, everybody, you know, JP Morgan was the first bank that entered into the metaverse. And it's so new. So it's like hard to say like when these things are going to be adopted and when this massive shift is going to happen. But it is happening now. And it always starts off a little slowly and then all at once.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like our cell phones and computers. You know, it was very slow. And then everyone had a computer. Everybody had a cell phone. And now it's like, can't even live our lives without these things.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know, it makes me feel good though. And, you know, not financial advice, but I am seeing mass adoption of, you know, Polygon, Matic, you know, the blockchain, which is really just a layer, like it's a scaling solution for Ethereum. But because it's so good, companies are adopting Polygon over Ethereum right now, really. Both total winners, in my opinion, you know. And the same thing with like Hedera Hashgraph, like watching Dell join their board of governors, you know, and the governors of Hedera, they're the ones that control the nodes, right? I know we talked about this last week. So seeing how many transactions and how quickly the transactions are growing on Hedera, very, very interesting. So two top picks for the next bull cycle for sure.
Polygon, Matic, and Hedera, which is HBAR. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing there. You know, and
advice, of course.
No, not financial advice at all. Like we're just two women talking about crypto, having fun.
Yep, exactly.
You know, but I am very interested in watching the tokenization, you know, of the bond market happen. You know what I mean? It's fascinating to see. It's just so many things, right? Like so many companies, and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. And I wonder what the world's going to look like, you know, in just like by 2025, you know.
Well, I mean, we've talked about the tokenization of real estate. We've talked about the tokenization of stocks. I mean, it's all gonna happen. So it's actually, in my opinion, great to see it being launched.
Yeah, I mean, we're moving this way. So I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready. And I do like, you know, some of the decentralized projects that are going on. So, you know, we'll definitely start doing like a deep dive on some, like, you know, like there's decentralized oracles, there's a decentralized smart contract platform that is the same thing as Ethereum, but it's decentralized. It's called Dero, Dero. So we'll be doing a deep dive into some of these projects as well, because I believe in what I see is like these centralized powers. You can't really control the internet. You can do it maybe for a little bit of time, but these projects are being built, right? So as they mature and as their ecosystem grows, then people are going to shift away from the centralized systems into the decentralized systems.
Well, I greatly am appreciative of you doing the deep dive for these things, because I'm certainly not leaning into all the minutia out there. And there's a lot. It takes a lot of, peeking behind the curtain to find these projects.
Yeah, and you know, it's a good point, like bringing it up, because I was teaching a class the other day, and I do get concerned because the technology is growing as at an exponential rate. And it's like, if you don't take some time out, like today and tomorrow, and really start to research and put the pieces of the puzzle together, how much of the new world are you even going to understand?
Right. No, absolutely.
And,
I give
and
myself kudos for understanding what I do, especially because, we all know, watching our own parents go through the technology, evolution, that if you're not on top of it, it's easy really to get lost.
yeah, yeah. And I don't want people to feel that overwhelm, because life is pretty overwhelming as it is. And then like not understanding the financial system or all the different tech stacks, or, you know, like how things are going to work, or understanding what a hologram is, just like certain things that are happening, or how are you going to react the first time you see a robot in your town, right? Like, that's startling.
Yeah. Yep.
But I got to tell you, I wish some of this stuff was decentralized, because I don't have grass. I have this cute little like beach little house, But if I did have grass, there's a little AI mower like this big. Husqvarna or something is the name of the company. It's so cute, and it's got cameras and sensors, and you don't even have to program it. It knows when your yard ends. But again, it's surveillance. They're surveilling your house. Like, don't forget that part. But I mean, the thing cuts your grass perfectly, and then it backs itself up on its little charge pad.
Yeah, it's like Dusty. It's like the little remote vacuums that folks
Yeah.
have in their homes. I have some family members that have one, and we call it Dusty. And Dusty, you just turn Dusty on, and Dusty does its thing. And if you happen to be standing in the way of Dusty, it taps you, and it's like, oh, got something there, and it just moves on. So it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
That's
Just wish it was like decentralized and wasn't collecting our data and and like our environment, like that's the thing. Because I'm for the technology, with it, what we have to like figure this out, right? Because it's not going to not happen. Like
right.
it's happening. So how can we get it in a way where we have rights, and digital rights and all these other things? But I mean, it can make our
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen. But I think that's all I have this week. Do you have anything else?
No, I haven't really been in the markets the last couple weeks. So I'm really was leaning into your expertise as usual and your deep dive. So thank you.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So let's just talk about the markets real quick. We're seeing a lot of green. So inflation numbers came out. We went from 6.5% to 6.4%. We didn't meet expectations. I think they were calling for like 6.1 or 6.2. The numbers are obviously super manipulated because every time I go to the grocery store, everything keeps getting more expensive, at least here in Florida. But you know, we watch the markets because it's a number like that, it went down, so the market goes up, right? So every time we get good inflation numbers, we see the stock market pump as well as cryptocurrency because they're waiting for the Fed to pause raising interest rates. They'll raise them again. They'll raise them again. I mean, they'll raise them probably 2, 3 more times, and then we'll look and see. And then they'll pause, and then they'll see, and then they'll lower the rates. Now, when we pause and the market is going to go to the moon for a little while, we just want to keep dollar cost averaging in and don't have FOMO. Because if we pause like in 3 months and the market does go through a nice little bull cycle, I think that would be a good time for people to take profits because inflation could go back up and then they're going to raise interest rates more. And then we could actually see another crash by the end of the year. So I'm watching this, you know, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just my opinion of looking at the markets, but I see these cycles. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bitcoin and a lot of the other, altcoins go up in value, you know, for a little while before something pushes us back down.
Well, again, it's the adage of sell in May and walk away. And typically in October, there has a tendency to be a bit of a nosedive, September, October timeframe. So, yeah, I think that what you're speaking of is probably overarchingly very accurate, but like, again, we're not financial advisors, but yeah, I think we're looking for a nice little bull run, green run, rebound through maybe the first part of May or so. But yeah, I know there's a number of people that are in accumulation mode right now.
Yep. And it's a good time, you know, it's like, even though like Bitcoin's like getting closer to 25,000. So, you know, it's still a good price to DCA. Because again, Bitcoin was 69,000 during the last bull cycle. So I would think once Bitcoin hits around 50 grand, you don't really want a dollar cost average anymore. You want to wait, you want to hodl, you know? So yeah, so that's kind of, but I do see the market, you know, it's going to be a roller coaster ride, but I do see the market, you know, looking good for a little bit of time. And it's always nice to see green. It's always a good reminder of, hey, we are being adopted. Like, no matter what the media and the government says, you know, the infrastructure of the blockchain is being adopted, and cross-border payments is being adopted, you know, this year, next year. Like, we are transitioning our financial system. So these coins that have utility like XRP, XLM, Algorand, like those ISO 222 tokens, we want to keep an eye on them because we're getting closer and closer to having mass adoption.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
It is exciting. It absolutely is exciting. So, well, thank you as always for doing the deep dive. And yeah.
So I guess until next week,
we do.
we're going to hodl on.